Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA. Treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Long Beach certainly drove home just how tough street courses can be. If the MX-5 drivers didn't have enough of them last week, they've got another in store tonight in the form of Bathurst. Which of them will survive this onslaught of a track? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While the GT3 Pros will be up later at the Nurburgring, before that, we've got to see how the MX-5s fared down here in Australia. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrod Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Rock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. Well, DJ, this is one that I'm pretty sure the drivers have earmarked for this season to be a difficult one. And like we said, they already had a taste of it last week, but how does this differ?
Well, Joe, it differs a little bit because unlike a lot of modern street circuits, there are very long straightaways around here at the Maya Panorama Circuit. Now, Mountain Straight and the Conrad Straight being the two of them, but once you get up past Griffin's Bend and climb up and down this hill, at that point, this circuit really does feel like a traditional claustrophobic street circuit. Walls on either side, very, very, very close, and minimal amount of room to make an error. But that doesn't mean that there is not passing available. Obviously, going down into Griffin's Bend, that is a good area to get things done. We've also seen some good passing going down into the Chase, and maybe even some opportunistic moves going down into Murray's Corner. And for these MX-5s, it's going to make things very interesting. The draft is going to be very effective around here on those long straights, but because of the lack of wings and aerodynamics on them, we're not going to have to deal with aero wash up and over the hill. So it should allow for some pretty close racing across the board.
I imagine it's going to create a few trains throughout today. But before we get to the racing and any trains that may happen, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free now at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now, things are going to get interesting after today because as we look at the championship points, we're missing a couple significant names here. And at the top of them, that is for the GT3s. There, we're looking for the MX-5s. It is Mossman who is up at the top of that, with Bradley Holly only 8 points behind, neither of which have shown up today. Danny Cervantes is currently about 12 points back from him, with a single point separating himself and Peter Newhook. Newhook was formerly up at the top of the standings, but his DNF certainly sent him tumbling. That'll get counted as a drop week pretty soon. And Michael Michaud wound up in fifth. Of course, we also have a teams championship here in the Miatas. DJ, how's that looking?
Well, it's a little bit more spread out at the top, Joe, with Miata Mafia holding a 43-point advantage over Oh God Right Turns. Behind them, the Jaeger Bombs are about 30 points back as well. And then there's a big gap back to RF Delta Sport to the tune of about 50 points. Fossil Racing within about 20 points of RF Delta Sport, but some very, very wide disparity there across the board for the team standings.
Now, as for today's race details, we have 35 minutes of racing here today, as we usually do. So not going to be very many laps around here, considering it takes about 2.5 minutes just to circulate one time. It's an open setup series, and while they don't have aerodynamics they can tweak, they can try and get a little bit better handling. Comfort is going to be key around the mountain. Drive-through penalty at 13 incidents possible out here. You can have enough car contacts and little bumps with the walls maybe, but you're probably going to have a pretty beat-up car by that stage. Disqualification at 17. And the bonus points for fastest lap is going to be here in a moment. Right now, it's the bonus point for qualifying that they are vying for. And then, of course, we'll find out if they get the 3 incidents or less after the race itself. And, well, update to our stories for that championship. Frank Mossman has, in fact, shown up, but he's had no practice at all here today. It is straight to qualifying for him, and that could affect things for certain. As we see, somebody has already brushed the wall. They've got a little bit of a dangling wing mirror.
Exactly, and that's Michael Michaud there, so that can very easily happen. Now, that's going to be a left-handed incident. My guess is that's probably when he was coming down through the S's and the dipper, Joe. Very, very easy to do that. You can see that wing mirror flapping there. Here is Frank Mossman, though, who jumped into the session at the last minute. He's coming down the hill right now, just getting himself set up.
Yeah, I think he came very close to running into the wall there in the cutting and did brush against it a little bit, but I think he's on his out lap, or at least hopefully he's on his out lap, because that'll discount his lap if it was on his current one, on his first flyer rather. Here we see Michaud coming up and around through the cutting. Now, Michael was one of our quickest drivers in the practice, and for some time it was by a large margin before a few were finally able to get it closer to him. So we'll see if he's got that sort of advantage here as well, as he takes it up towards McPhillamy, getting it right up against that wall. And now we start to go back downhill through Skyline.
Yeah, and there is that crest of the hill right there, jumping down the S's and into the dipper, this incredibly deep down left-hander there. Yeah, Michaud was ahead by a sizable margin in qualifying, and then Johnny Luna showed up and started putting in some good times. So I think, based off the way this is going, it may be a little bit of a three-way battle between Luna, Mossman, and Michaud there, but we'll have to see. We haven't seen a representative lap out of Frank Mossman quite yet.
So down Conrad, Michaud trying to get this around as quickly as he can. We're not going to see anybody be able to take all 4 laps that they are allowed around here, so expect at most 3. Michaud now into the braking for the chase, and will he be our first to set a time? Doesn't look like it, I don't think. We got a couple cars in front of him currently, but looks like Peter Newhook is going to be the first one to set one. The 87 goes across at a 2:32.6. And I think Michaud going to be quickly up behind him. Let's see what this is. Ooh, it's 0.6 off of Peter Newhook.
All right, so that's going to make things pretty interesting. Jacques Boucher coming in behind him, Sean Vincent and Danny Cervantes waiting here. Johnny Luna to cross the line. Luna goes to the top of the charts by about 1/10.5. Watching here as Adam Young crosses over to put in a 2:34.2. That's going to get him up to 7th as Malcolm Foster slots in behind him.
And because of Frank Mossman's incident, he actually had another wreck later on. He's had to take off again, and he's got even less time to try and set a competitive time. In fact, I think he might only get a single flyer. There you see him on screen now coming down to the chase. If he's lucky, he might get 2 in, but I don't, no, that is not actually going to be the case. He will only have the one opportunity, and he's off again in the chase. This is his out lap. But, and he's already has significant damage on the left-hand side of that thing.
Yeah, he did. Just grazing the wall somewhere. You can see all the scruffs and obviously that left-hand wing mirror hanging off there. So Frank has just got to try to get a clean lap in here, and all damage be damned, he's got to go for it. That's the only way he does this, because you do not want to be starting in last place around here. Obviously, he's off track. I think that is going to be an off track for him.
Which might mean his qualifying is already over, but it looks like he's keeping going. I guess he could use the practice at this point, to be honest. But yeah, his best chance is seeing a lot of attrition out there and hopefully leapfrogging with the slipstream. Todd Lewis is going to be the next one across the line in the 919, and he puts in a 2:36.2, and that'll put him last of those who have set a time, within range of those elsewhere on the timing sheets. So Pete now in the number 7, taking his Fossil Racing car across, and that one did not count. He'll have just enough time, I think, to get back around, and this is the last lap for Kevin Bergquist, because he has now run out of time after this one. He's not able to complete flying laps. He has to cross the line before the time runs out, and his was good enough for 6th place that time.
Yeah, indeed it was, but we check in here on our provisional pole sitter, Johnny Luna, with the 14 machine driving for that Miata Mafia team. He's got a good run there out of the cutting, now works his way, or the chase rather, now working his way down through Murray's corner. Good line there out of it. Let's see if the number 14 is able to improve. He is by about 1/10 of a second or so. That is the fastest lap there, so that'll be a 32.4 for him. Here comes Malcolm Foster.
Adam Young not able to improve, and Malcolm Foster not able to go any quicker as well. So we go to Frank Mossman, who is just trying to do whatever he can at this stage. Can also tell you that Michael Michaud improved, but didn't go any higher than 3rd, unfortunately. So for someone who was looking mighty quick in the practice session, wondering if he could back that up when we get to the race. He will start up towards the front, so we'll have some opportunities. Frank now into the chase himself with enough time to cross the line, but we don't expect this one to count. And he's abusing the track limits probably everywhere he can to try and figure out exactly how far he can go down here into that last chicane. And coming through Murray's, I expect a lot of curb here as well. Yeah, absolutely sends that thing in right to the edge, and it is immediately deleted, unfortunately. Todd Lewis might be able to get around for a second lap. He's now into the chase himself.
Whoa, as he takes a big chunk of that curb going through the chase. Now brings it back out to the outside again, waiting to see if he's going to have anything here. He will be able to get this lap in, Joe.
2:36.2. Again, the last driver to have set a time so far. And this one, unfortunately, going to get deleted. I'm guessing that has to do with that wing mirror that is dangling to the side. And Pete Ladon, is this going to be enough? Yeah, I think he's just going to get across the line in time. So the number 7 still doesn't get one on the board, and with 3 seconds left, Bergquist is just shy of the finish line, and our results are set. Let's go through the starting order. Johnny Luna is on the pole with Peter Newhook in 2nd. Michael Michaud will be 3rd, and Jacques Boucher at P4th. And it's Danny Cervantes in 5th, followed by Sean Vincent in 6th, and Kevin Bergquist in 7th. To his outside, it is Adam Young, as Ian Cabana will start 9th, and Malcolm Foster rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it'll be Matthew St. Aubin with Patrick Calgill to his outside. Behind them, it is Pete Thomas and Todd Lewis with Frank Mossman and Jason Larson starting 15th and 16th. Danny Duchesne will line up in 17th, followed by Pete Platten with Doyle Lawrence and Robert Gallinotto rounding out your top 20 and the rest of your field.
Very quickly, we're getting pretty much everybody lined up. It's a decent day out, only 74 Fahrenheit for the air temperature, 78 for the track temperature. So for 35 minutes of racing, shouldn't have too much concern about those tires. About 10-mile-an-hour wind there that you see up at the top. Slightly humid, just about 50%, but not too terribly bad. And I think we're just waiting on Cervantes, Vincent, and Duchesne at this point. There you can see the metric temperatures as we watch our field grid up here in that little crest over the hill on the front stretch. It'll be a short run down into Hell Corner, and then hopefully we get everybody through and attempting to try and navigate around the mountain successfully without throwing it away early. I might have a few drivers starting from pit lane. I'm seeing us still missing a few, so I don't blame them. It's something we frequently see at a track like this where you just want to try and survive just in case there's some big pileups at the start. And the clock hits 0, which means the engines will now start to rev as the lights come up. It's round 6. And the green flag is out. Luna looks pretty decent off the line, and somebody is in the wall immediately. That was Adam Young. Not sure what sent him over there, but we've got a single file for the top 3 into Hell Corner. And Boucher having to fend off Cervantes, who's slow coming off the turn, and now Bergquist and Vincent are attacking him.
I'm not entirely sure there what happened to Adam Young in the back. It almost looked like he just wanted to get out of the way. But as we continue to file out around here, it's a real hornet's nest there in the back. You can see the 64 and the 26. That's Vincent, Bergquist, and Cervantes just almost 3 wide as they make their way for the first time into Quarry Bend.
So Luna is very close here with Michaud, who's going to be able to get side by side, and behind looks like Patrick Cowgill had a problem as he's falling down, but Luna will win that fight up into the cutting. Michaud falls back, Newhook behind them, and Boucher in 4th, but it's a big gap to the next car down.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that, Joe, is that it looked like Cowgill, Cervantes, and Bergquist all got into each other coming through Quarry Bend.
And I think it looks like Vincent also got a little piece of it himself. So we ride on board with Luna, looking back at Michaud. This is good news for this top group. This 4-car breakaway so early means that they'll have to try and shake fewer drivers over the course of this race.
Yeah, indeed. They will just be able to run their own race out here for a little while. We continue to watch Luna with Michaud trying to close down that looks like a pretty good run there for Michaud, coming down and around Forest Elbow as they get ready to take the plunge now on the Conrad Straight for the first time.
So as we watch from on board the 497, he's being towed along by Luna. They've got about a half-second gap down to Newhook, but he should still be feeling the effects. And look at how quickly Michaud is gaining 130 miles an hour, and he ducks out, trying to see if he could get past him by the kink. Not fully, so Luna probably going to fight back. He's got the inside into the chase, and he is deeper on the binders. He's going to retake the lead.
Oh, and that's really going to allow for Newhook to almost get a little bit into the side there of Michael Michaud. Michaud being very, very defensive, at least the best that he can. Newhook trying to attack there a little bit as they dive down now into Murray's corner. A little bit of separation there between P2 and P3, but they continue on for right now.
Incredibly, even with all the aggressive driving that we're seeing at the start, none of them have changed positions. They're all exactly where they began this race. We watch from Boucher there in the number 5 car. We'll get 3 other drivers towing him along up the mountain straight. Is this going to be enough? And it looks like they have started to lose touch with Johnny Luna now. 0.6 of a second up to him. Not the greatest of exits from Michael there in the number 497, but they run out of straightaway. Bit of a bobble there from Newhook as Boucher almost bump drafting Peter up towards the cutting, but decides not to risk it.
Yeah, decides not to go for it, but that's an error there out of Newhook. Boucher now going to try to make a move there as they make their way through the right-hander. Not able to get it done. It is so incredibly difficult to get a move actually done here up the hill, Joe.
Peter not looking that good on this second lap. Made a mistake out of Griffin's. Now he makes a mistake out of the cutting. Let's hope that he can get that sorted out soon, and maybe the car starts to agree with him a little better. I see Cervantes in pit lane, I believe taking some repairs. So not sure if we'll see him again in this race. Look at the pressure being put onto our leader. Johnny Luna suddenly finds Michaud gaining over the top of the mountain a lot quicker than he is at the bottom of the mountain.
Yeah, and that's really what can happen here, Joe. If you make a little bit of an error, that was Luna getting a little bit friendly with the wall coming down there, as now we are side by side there in the back. That's Newhook and Boucher as they make their way down the Conrad Straight.
So Boucher is actually in front of him this time, but he's not completely past. We watch from the roll bar. of Peter Newhook. Looking off to his left-hand side. Inside of the braking is going to go to Jacques. Let's see if he can be braver on the binders. And, well, he is fully ahead at this point. Just drifts over a little bit. And that is P3 for the 5 car.
And they've got to be a little bit careful. Look at that gap that's really starting to develop up to the 2 leading cars. It's now about 1.7 seconds, Joe. They don't want to be battling too hard here at this point, or they could completely lose touch with Michaud and Luna.
Oh, and that's Michaud. That was Michael Michaud with a mistake out of Murray's. He hit the outside wall, and unfortunately it bounced him onto the track. Nobody hit him, but it was a scary moment coming out of the corner.
Let's check out this replay here, Joe. As we look here from the helicopter perspective, brings it down. Just a little bit of understeer there. The car wanted to go out wide, and yeah, contact with the outside wall that's going to allow a lot of cars pass. Oh, and then in his haste, he runs into that inside retaining wall, and that damages the rear of his car.
Has to pull over to allow Cabana by. So he's fallen to 5th place. And he's lost touch with the top 3 on top of it, which I guess you could more say is the top 2 and then Newhook at this stage. You can see the distance between, or excuse me, the top 1 and then Boucher and Newhook, I should say. So we come back to Mossman, who is... oh, wow, Mossman has gained a lot of spots here. He started 15th. Remember, he didn't get a qualifying spot. And Todd Lewis is behind him, trying to see if he can get one of those back. They're also being chased by Vincent and Foster.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit spicy there for the 69. He was able to avoid a lot of the calamity that we saw drivers get into on that first lap. He looks strong here, Joe. Whoa! And of course, as I say that, he takes a big chunk of the hill coming up McPhillamy Park.
Breaking down through the curves, weaving around in the S's, and he's way offline. He's slow through the dipper. Todd Lewis is able to catch up. He's thinking about maybe trying to challenge him and then backs out of it.
Yeah, not the best way to try to take a pass there through the dipper. Now they come out of Forest Elbow and see exactly that is what happened there. You see it with Todd Lewis. Lewis was a little over-aggressive, and now that opens the door up to an attack here from Sean Vincent.
And this is a pass between Michaud and Cabana. Cabana still to his left-hand side and slightly ahead, coming down into the braking of the chase. I think he's going to stay ahead. Yep, nice smooth corner through there, but a great exit. Holy cow! Michaud, with a rocket ship of a car coming off the turn, is able to take the pass coming out of it instead of into it.
That is not something you see every day, Joe. A great heads-up play there from Michael Michaud. Remember, some damage on the rear of that car in particular, as well as the right-hand side. Clearly not affecting the 497 all that much.
My goodness, look at this melee behind them, though. This is the drivers, Mossman, Vincent, Lewis, and Foster, as they go side by side. That is Lewis on the outside, Foster on the inside in the yellow machine. He's going to get back in a line, as I think that was a glitch there of something flying off someone's car there in front. But with the slipstream coming down into the corner, Mossman still getting some pressure, but also a bump draft from Vincent. He doesn't attempt to pass this time. Lewis is going to stay ahead of Foster as well.
Joe, I'm watching the 69 machine here of Frank Mossman, and he looks a little bit like he's almost overdriving the car. You see just how much of that interior curb he is taking. He is really pushing that thing to the limit and just proving my point there on the exit of the cutting. He is driving the wheels off of this MX-5.
Can we get an above-view replay on the 69 car coming out of the cutting? If he touched the wall, it must have just barely brushed, because my goodness, you're right, it seems like he's overdriving a little bit, and it would have been the rear of the car that touched it only, because man, the tail was wagging. Here we go, let's look and see. Hopefully the tree doesn't get in our way.
Brings it out. All right, here is where he makes it again aggressive with the inside curb. Wah-ha-ha-ha.
Yeah, it was mighty close through there. And he hasn't dropped Vincent yet either. Unfortunately, Sean's been able to keep up with him over the hill. As we come back live now, Frank's still only up to 6. I say only. He's gained, what is that, 9 spots since the start of this race, and we're only on lap 4 as we ride on board with Sean Vincent. Looking at the toe, pulling us forward. And not sure if he's going to have anything unless he's very brave, and he doesn't even show his nose down into the chase. I think he knows that Frank's going to be a very fast driver, and he might as well just ride those coattails.
Yeah, I think that's a good call here from Sean Vincent. Just keep up in that draft as much as possible. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to get by Mossman and get up into that top 5 potentially, but what he can do here is use the draft to pull himself forward and keep a little bit of distance between himself and Todd Lewis and Malcolm Foster, who are fighting behind. We jump up here for the battle for P2 as Boucher trying to think about a move here on Peter Newhook.
He's following him as he weaves across the track, staying right in those tire tracks. But they're going to have to hit the brakes here as they come up into Griffin's. And a little bit sketchy into the corner there for Peter Newhook, really backing the car into it, getting some rotation. And that's going to allow Jacques to stay right on his bumper, but with no place to go as they both hit the brakes into the cutting. Now up the hill, looking dead even between them.
Yeah, there's not a lot really at all between these two drivers, Joe, and you talked about a little bit of that over-rotation there for the 87 coming up through Quarry Bend. That's probably a result of him trail braking a little bit into the corner, but ooh, a little bit of a think about it there for Jacques Boucher as they rise up and get to the crest of the hill here. Not enough to fully make the move, go over Skyline, but Boucher really just trying to apply as much pressure as he can, see if he can force a mistake out of Newhook in this very, very tight mountain section.
Yeah, we've seen a few mistakes already. Speaking of which, back at the start with Adam Young, I think from what I could tell looking at the replay myself, I think he had a very late start on the gas. Either he didn't have the clutch engaged correctly or something and knew he was slow, and it looked like he tried to pull out of the way, trying to just avoid causing any hiccups there in the group. That's the best I can guess, because he did seem quite slow off the line. Other than that, anybody can take a shot explaining why he decided to head off into the Armco there. As we come down into the braking of the chase, Newhook ahead of Boucher, but Jacques not really doing anything at this stage, just kind of sitting behind him.
Well, Joe, we could see maybe a little bit of fuel saving out of Boucher. Maybe that's what he's thinking about here. Remember, these MX-5s will have to make a pit stop over the course of this race. Oh, but that was a little bit of a wide run for Peter Newhook. Is this the opportunity that Boucher needs as they cross over the start-finish? Thinks about poking his nose out, looking like he's trying to poke his nose out, not going to go for it, but let's see the exit here of Hell Corner. Both take it pretty well. Boucher carrying some good speed.
Michael Michaud into pit lane. Now remember, they don't have a spare car, so he's not going to be able to just pop a new one in here, but he could potentially get a few repairs. Frank Mossman, because of that, inherits 5th place, and everybody behind him also bumping up one position. Oh, and Boucher Newhook side by side into Griffin's Bend, and Jacques does it around the outside of that second corner. That takes some bravery.
It does indeed, Joe. That is very, very tough. Easy to get a little bit of understeer and see that car kick up around. So kudos to Boucher being able to make that move stick.
Trying to see where Michaud is going to come out. Looks like he came out in 16th place with a 16.8 second stop. I believe that is a hair long compared to what we're used to. So, oh, we've got a wreck with Todd Lewis, and it looks like Foster in the background. Unfortunately, in the 67 is facing the wrong way, and things just got a little too tight amongst our competitors into the cutting.
Yeah, indeed they did, Joe. This is the battle for P8, really, and I was keeping an eye on this. They were pretty much side by side from Quarry Bend all the way up. There you can see it. That's Jason Larson there in the 13 black machine. Now let's watch this. They're side by side behind him. That is Young and St. Aubin. Come around there through the cutting. Just misjudges it, and that sends him spinning around.
So it looks like Todd Lewis got a little piece of it, as well as Jason Larson, and then Matthew St. Aubin just found a gap wide enough to keep from making any sort of contact, but he comes out a little behind either other car. So we come down Conrad now. Because of that little tip, Lewis is now up into 7th, Larson 8th, and St. Aubin into 9th. He's going to pull along behind the number 13 and then give him a big hello from behind before both of them now hit the binders once again. So I think he is trying to think big picture here, and unfortunately thinking too big on the brakes because he overshot the chase. He's going to get a slowdown penalty from that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, going to allow for Adam Young, maybe even Pete Thomas. Oh, that is Robert Gallinotto having a big off there through the chase.
Facing the wrong way. Did he get some help on that one? He did. He did. It was from Patrick Cowgill, unfortunately.
All right, so that's Cowgill in the 31, that yellow machine, down into it. Just a little, big ka-thunk there for both machines.
And that broke his suspension. You can see how the car is sitting. He's stuck, and that's day over, essentially. He could try and get the suspension repaired, but we've got barely half the race left to go. So I'd say that he's not going to get much of a finish out of this. We're already out one car officially. Danny Cervantes has retired. Malcolm Foster's been in a pit lane for about 2 minutes. And then Gallinotto looks like he has now joined him. Otherwise, 17 cars still running on the track currently. Considering we started with 20 and this place is known for gobbling cars up, I'm actually pretty pleased to see this many still running.
Yeah, as am I, Joe, and we focus back here on a battle that just doesn't seem to go away. This is Sean Vincent and Frank Mossman, the battle for P5 right now. Mossman currently chasing down that blue number 26 as they cross over Skyline.
Coming down through the S's there. And Frank really working things hard. Different lines between each of them. Much better exit for Frankie, as Sean is not going to defend down into Forest Elbow. But what about off of it? Is there much that he can do to hold him back? Because now he's going to give a big old toe to the 69. And he's just going to hold off to the right-hand side, slowly drift to the left, and then give enough space for Frank to get through. That was a Pruitt fade, if I ever saw one. Didn't quite work out. Now Frank back up into 5th.
Yeah, and they're trading back and forth. I doubt we'll see an attack here from Vincent going down into the chase. Indeed, he's just going to stay behind. Good on the brakes there for Sean Vincent, just being able to hold that car steady. They come out now on this little mini straight going towards Murray's corner. Vincent's lost a little bit, but he's going to have to focus here on these next 2 corners, make sure he gets them right, and hope that he cannot let Mossman disappear too far ahead of him.
Looks like Cabana is going to pit in now as well. Now, I believe he was around Michaud, so this might make a difference on that battle. Michael's catching up to Patrick Cowgill right now. If he gets held up, that'll certainly hurt things for him. Patrick, though, might be dealing with some damage, and indeed, Patrick pulls off as we watch this fight up at the front between Boucher and Newhook on our screens.
As we're getting news there, unfortunately, that Todd Lewis is our second DNF of the day. The driver of the 919 calling it quits.
I'm checking to see what happened to him. And, it looks like just an internet connection issue because he simply disappeared on my screen. Now, Cabana is back out, but he's 6 seconds behind Michaud. The 497, I think, made the right call with that early pit stop, giving himself valuable track position. Speaking of track position, Peter Newhook wants the position that Jacques has, but Boucher is not in any mind to try and give that away. Out of the dipper once again. The two of them have lost touch with the leader by the tune of about 5 seconds. Unless they start working together, I don't think they're going to catch up to the 14.
No, I don't think they are either, Joe. And the way they're scrapping, I think they are just trying to hold on to this second place the best they can. Newhook looking like he's a little far back to get a good assault going down into the chase as of right now. But we'll have to see how this phases out. It'll also be interesting to see with pit stops. Whoa, I spoke too soon. That's a great run from Newhook. He's going to poke his nose to the inside on the right-hander. Oh, a little bit of a close-off there from Boucher. Not going to be enough for Newhook. That was some heads-up defending there, I think, from Jacques to be able to close that door.
And a wise decision from Peter as well. He could have tried to force the issue. He decided not to. So breaking down into Murray's. We're past the halfway mark in this race. We're only going to be seeing about 15 or 16 laps, and way wide off the exit of Murray's. Boucher getting a little bit of the grass. This is going to slow him up coming into Hell Corner, but I don't think this is where Peter really wants to pass. He wants to try and set himself up for the exit, but he's way off the apex.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him. A little bit of a run into the grass there for Boucher up in front of him. That'll slow him down by maybe a half a mile an hour. Behind them, Sean Vincent, the latest to duck into the pits. We got to keep our eyes here, though, because Newhook is charging. Speed difference of about 2-3 miles an hour as they come down the mountain straight. Boucher's going to make him go the long way around.
And then eventually lifts. That was a white flag from Jacques Boucher there, allowing Peter Newhook to have the position. Yes, I see Vincent getting overtaken by Duchesne, who still needs to take his stop. Trying to see where he'll come out in regards to Michaud. Looks like Michaud going to beat him out as well. And things getting a little testy here. I thought Jacques was allowing him by just to try and let this one go, but he's right on top of the bumper, almost touching him at this stage.
Yeah, it's almost a bump draft up the hill, Joe, and that could end in absolute agony for both drivers. Boucher not wanting to give an inch here. I would imagine that may mean they need to come into the pits on this lap, because if you are Boucher, you do not want to be second in line when you dive in.
Absolutely, and I see Pete Thomas and Doyle Lawrence also in pit lane. Don't think Pete Thomas is for scheduled work, though, because he's been in for nearly a minute now. And Doyle Lawrence out with a 22.5, slightly slow, but he should be able to get back out without losing too terribly much. Back down the hill. Now, this time Jacques is not close enough. He is starting to pick up speed now, up to 130 miles an hour. And then not near enough to try and attack him down into the chase. And Johnny Luna is making motions like he's going to pit in. He is. The 14 is heading into the lane.
All right, so that's your leader. Let's see if any of these two trailing follow him in, and indeed they do. So Newhook and Boucher coming in. That's really only going to leave Frank Mossman as the only undetermined pitter here. Absolutely.
And Frank up to fourth, but he's going to give a few positions back, I think. He is running pretty incredible pace. A 2:33.9 is a little bit off of our leaders, but much better. Though, as he didn't have practice, and he clearly did not practice the pit lane entry, because that is one that has caught many drivers out over the years.
Yes, it has. A bit of a tricky pit in, but the 69 is going to be coming down to the lane here. We focus on the 27. This is Danny Duchesne. Duchesne coming in again, it looks like. He came in on the first lap. I think he's got to come in again here.
Well, no, he started from pit lane, so the 27 has a bit of a false positive there, and he's coming in for his official first stop. And back out, Johnny Luna retains the lead. Newhook in second. Boucher, what happened in that pit stop? He is 5 seconds slower? It looks like 6 seconds slower than Peter Newhook.
Yeah, that's a very, very slow stop for Boucher. Actually, one of the slowest on the day. Newhook came in right about at a 16.6 stationary in the box. Boucher with a 22.2. So I wonder there if Boucher overfueled the car a little bit.
It could be, as we got a bump draft here coming up to Griffin's Bend. That's Mossman and Vincent. Mossman comes out just ahead of Sean, and that's Cabana behind them as well. It's a three-way fight to determine the last step of the top 5.
Indeed it is, this three-way battle here as they work their way along. Mossman able to hold out right now over Vincent, but I'm going to be keeping an eye here on that 774 of Cabana. If he can stay in line here, he'll get the benefit of a double draft coming down the Conrad Straight, and that could mean some real speed for that machine.
Up and over through the Solomon Park, and then here through McPhillamy Park as well. You can see the card sliding around the turn. Whoa, and all the way into the grass in the case of Ian. He's blinking out a little bit on top of it, but he's able to keep it pointed the right direction. Down through the dipper, little wide there from Sean Vincent. In fact, he's going to pay for it as he loses some time to the 69.
Yeah, definitely lost it here, but he's a little bit wide coming into the entry there of that corner. Blink there again for the 26. Yeah, you can see just how much that cost him. We talked a little bit earlier, Joe, about how you've got to kind of get every corner up and down the hill just right, or it will affect in a domino fashion just how bad of a run you have. That's exactly what happened there to Sean Vincent. Coming down there out of the dipper, just misjudged it, and that cost him the chance to make a move on the 69.
Those pit stops have really separated most of the fields, honestly. Top drivers are all pretty far apart from one another. This is the only group we saw exit within striking range. Larson and St. Aubin are close themselves, and here you see them on screen, but just a pair. It looks like St. Aubin is going to be able to get through. That's one more spot at 8th. He's got to hold on to it, though, and he is there. So that is 3 positions gained since the grid for the 24.
It's a good job there for that machine, that orange, white, and black 24. He's just got to hold on to it here a little bit. There always can be a fight back there from Jason Larson, but this could be a little bit of a battle we're chasing.
And you know what? Mossman has been gaining ground on Michaud. In fact, I think Michael Michaud had a mistake last lap because I'm seeing a 2:37 for him. That's 3 seconds off of his usual pace.
Yeah, I just looked at it, Joe. He overshot Murray's corner. He came out there like he did previously in the race, just got a little bit of understeer and lost it coming through there, just went out onto the grass. We'll check out the replay.
Yeah, here it is here. He's coming up towards the chase now, so it'll be the corner after this set. Seems to be his Achilles heel, that just final turn. And frankly, I've always found it to be a surprisingly tough turn, Murray's corner, DJ, because it's a 90-degree turn. You think, surely it's got to be relatively simple, but for some reason, I don't know, it's hard to hit the braking, the turn in, and avoid that tall inside curb.
Yeah, it really is. There's a couple of things. It's slightly downhill, so you're having to counteract the weight of the car to slow down. You're carrying a little bit more momentum through there. It narrows at corner exit, so you can't take as much out of it as you want. And like you said, that inside curb, if you get the left tires up onto that just a hair too much, it can really, really throw you out of whack.
And Mossman has hit the wall in the dipper. He lost the car. I think we might be able to find a replay on this one because he did hit the wall, and he falls down to 7th, losing a whole bunch of the positions he tried to gain, and there you see it right there.
Good job for Frank Mossman to be able to keep that car under him. Let's take a look at the onboard here. Looks like he just put a little bit too much steering input as he crested over Skyline, and that, when the car was light, caused it to get squirrely. Very lucky there. He did not have a big run-in with Ian Cabana.
Yeah, it's lucky in general, my goodness, as that car slid around the corner. Usually you don't see that light of a tap against the wall when things go that horribly wrong. Kept it on the track in Murray's, though. I see Todd Lewis now in pit lane. And I think that is him reconnecting and getting back into this. So now we see Matthew St. Aubin in ninth. Looks like he relost the position to Jason Larson. These two are about 15 seconds off of Mossman ahead of them. So even though this is the positions behind Frank, after that mistake, they're not nearly close enough to capitalize.
Yeah, they're going to have to be hoping for an accident or something to happen up ahead of them for them to really be able to move forward. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there and didn't want to do it right into the microphone.
All right, well, let's hope that Matthew doesn't sneeze because he's got to focus here. He's going to go around the outside of Jason Larson. Is Jason going to give it up, or is he going to try and fight him? He'll have the inside into Griffin's Bend. Matthew is going to try and cut down, but he can't. There's still a car there. He still hangs tough, and the 24's got it.
Does indeed. There's the move over to the right side of the track as they work their way up in through the cutting. That's a good decisive move there from the 24. Larson's just got to focus in on keeping it nice and close behind and maybe keeping touch down out of Forrest's elbow to get a draft pass done down the Conrad Straight.
I'm starting to think that Mossman is going to be able to recatch Cabana because he's already cut down that gap a decent amount. Sean Vincent is also pulling along Ian in front of him, so should become a three-car battle yet again, and this is looking like a two-car battle at the top of the hill potentially. For a second, almost looked like Larson was considering trying to attack into Skyline. Thankfully, he did not.
Yeah, you've seen what can happen if you get a little bit offline there, and it almost looked like that the 24 of St. Aubin carried a little bit too much speed coming down through the S's. Lucky to be able to keep that car back under him and not make contact with the wall. This is that battle you were talking about, Joe. This is Sean Vincent tucking up nicely behind, or Ian Cabana rather, tucking up behind Vincent. Not looking like he's going to be able to get the job done unless he's super on the brakes, and that's going to just allow for Frank Mossman to come right back into contention on this battle.
Yep, he is absolutely there at this point. 2 laps to go, by the way, as they cross the line. Luna with about 3.5 minutes left when he came across. So he's got plenty to try and come around to take the white flag next time through. Poor exit from Ian. And Frank, is he going to try and go for it? Is he going to try and play patient? I'd say play patient. He says no. Let's do it now. Through Hell Corner, and he is passed.
Passed indeed, and that's going to put Sean Vincent now clearly in his crosshairs, able to keep some good momentum behind. Looking at the speed breakdown right now, about halfway down that straightaway, Mossman and Cabana are about tied. Cabana just looked like he didn't have the run off of the corner that he had hoped for, and that cost him a little bit of speed even in the draft.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that he went for the pass there, because usually that'll compromise your racing line in a big way and make you vulnerable to being repassed. More blinking from the 26, who's sporting some damage on the front. I can't tell if that's actual damage or just some of the blinking causing it. Oh, and he hit the wall. I think he must have hit the wall because he's slow, and the tire looks off. Sean Vincent, 2 laps from the end, has thrown away a top 5 finish.
Oh, no. Yeah, that tire is completely down. His race is done. Definite damage to the front of the car. Let's watch this as he makes his way up through the cutting. Just carries too much speed and big ka-thunk there into that outside wall. You can see that tire already down.
As he came back around into our view from that wall, I thought that tire looks really weird. And we're going to watch it from on board. Just sends it in a little bit too hard, and you can see it coming. He can see it coming, but there's nothing he can do, and he hits the corner of it, which is the last thing you want. And, well, he actually had to take a tow in the end. The car was not drivable back to the garage.
And that's a real shame for him. He has had such a great race out here today, but what that is going to do is that'll promote Frank Mossman up into 5th and Ian Cabana into 6th.
As for St. Aubin and Larson, Matthews dropped Jason. So that's looking like 7th place now for Matthew, with him having stretched away from the slipstream. with Jason Larson. So, wow, battles have dried up in a hurry. We're on board with Ian Cabana behind Mossman. He's got to start hustling about 1.2 seconds back. He's going to lose the slipstream as well as we get the white flag. This is it. If you want to see the checkers, you just have to survive a single circuit around.
Yeah, that's all you've got to do, and that is exactly what...
And as we look at Johnny Luna here in the 14, 5-second gap, just a little under 5 seconds, back to Peter Newhook. So not real domination, but Luna certainly has looked like he's been the man to beat for much of this race. Took the pole position, was challenging Michael Michaud in the practice, but it was Michaud's mistake that really handed things over on a silver platter here to the Californian. Here down through McPhillamy Park once again. He can definitely take it a little bit easy here and give up some time just to make sure that he keeps the car in one piece.
Yeah, that's going to be his biggest thing right there. Just keep it nice and calm. Only a couple corners here to go for the 14 machine.
And Cabana has caught back up. I don't know if this is a mistake from Mossman or if Cabana has turned the afterburners on. But as they come up to Skyline, if he can stay this close out of Forest Elbow, he should have enough slipstream to at least try and challenge. Now, completing the pass, that's going to be a whole nother story.
Yeah, but he will have the advantage here of getting that draft down the Conrad straight, even though it is about 0.8 of a second. We haven't really seen that many passes from that far back, but wow, and a big hit into the wall. That's going to stop that battle, it looks like.
We'll have to go back to that in a little bit because Johnny Luna is out of the last corner. Or out of the last chicane, I should say. This one being the last corner here through Murray's Corner and to the line. At Australia, it is victory for the number 14 car in round 6.
A very good drive there for Johnny Luna and Peter Newhook behind. You see the 87 celebrating on the way to the line. Behind them, Jacques Boucher, that early battle with Newhook coming to naught thanks to pit stops. He will round out the podium.
And Ian Cabana still staying within about half a second, I should say, despite that problem there at the end, and Cabana will at least get a 6th position. Duchesne, in the meantime, is chasing Adam Young, who has made a comeback after his poor start, but will he lose this 9th place? Duchesne is sizing him up. He could make a dive down into the corner. Half-hearted defense at first from Adam Young, but then he stays with the racing line. He's going to try and keep with it. Coming off the turn, he's a little slow all the way down to it, but Adam Young has it, and Duchesne has to settle for 10th. But we have 15 cars that are going to make it to the finish line here today, and our winner of them was Johnny Luna. Peter Newhook was in second as Jacques Boucher grabbed a podium today. Michael Michaud, unfortunately, his own errors really cost him out there. He finished about 24 seconds behind the leader, and it could have been so much closer. Frank Mossman, with his lack of practice, tried his best to make up for it. He could only get to 5th from 15th. He does have 3 wins, so Bradley Holly not being here will definitely help him on that front. Ian Cabana was 6th as Matthew St. Aubin finished 7th, up from 11th spot. He was fighting with Jason Larson earlier. He finished 8th. Adam Young was 9th, and Danny Duchesne was 10th. Patrick Cowgill finished in 11th.
In 12th, it was Kevin Berquist, followed by Malcolm Foster, with Doyle Lawrence and Pete Thomas behind him in 15th. Sean Vincent had to take that tow on the last lap, as you saw. And then Todd Lewis, Robert Gallinotto, Pete Bladden, and Danny Cervantes, all DNFs here today at Mount Panorama.
We've got our 2nd place finisher ready to talk to us, Peter Newhook, who is definitely in and amongst that top 4 group at the early stages of the race. Peter, I have to imagine when you saw that happen, the 4 of you managed to have a breakaway. That had to be at least somewhat of a relief, knowing that you didn't have the entire train following you around.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to relax on Bathurst and not worry about somebody trying to come up your left or right through you up through the S's.
Certainly. Now, through the rest of it, though, definitely a little bit of a game of attrition, and you managed to survive that. Did you back it off at all, trying to make sure you bring it home, or were you full charge the whole race?
I was full charge everywhere except for lap 1. I think after last week where I DNF'd in lap 1, I promised myself that I wasn't going to do that again this week. So when Michael Michaud, my teammate actually, came up beside me and we were about to go too wide up the hill, I thought, you know what, I don't need this right now. And sure enough, he paid me back a little bit later in the race by going off track. So yeah, it came back to me.
Well, thankfully, we now step away from the street courses for a moment, and instead we head towards the Red Bull Ring, a little bit more wide open, but a lot of elevation change like we experienced here today. How do you consider your chances for that?
Hard to say amongst this group. I mean, I like the draft. I'm maybe not the fastest guy out there, but I can safely stay behind somebody, and that's really what Red Bull's about. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to it ourselves as well. Is there anybody you want to thank for today's podium?
Yeah, definitely. I think a shout out to my crew chief for getting me out of the pit nice and quick. And I also want to mention that after my incredible win a few weeks ago at Sebring, Toto Wolff never got back to me. But I am excited to announce a new sponsor. I am now a proud driver of Purple Cow, North Korea's premier energy drink. As they say in Pyongyang, Purple Cow gives you speed of glorious leader.
All right. That's Peter Newhook, who was our second place finisher here today. And that is going to take us to even more racing. So don't tune out yet, because the Nürburgring is coming up with the GT3 Pro Series. Stick around for yet more action here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome to the Nürburgring. The GP course will host today's round for the Precision Racing League GT3 Pro Series. And if you're much more used to the Nordschleife, well, let's introduce you to the Grand Prix version of the Nürburgring. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the Ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing. Okay, DJ, it's the Grand Prix course. Why don't you run us down how GT3 cars handle around here?
Well, Joe, they're going to have a good time of it around here, mainly because they're going to be able to take advantage of some of the curbing around here a lot more. Stiffer suspension in these GT3s able to take it. So look for them to be very, very aggressive through parts of the circuit like the Valvoline Ford curves, as well as the Schumacher S and the Michelin curve, as well as that infamous NGK chicane. Now, the best overtaking opportunity, well, that's probably going to be a lot like it is in a lot of other cars that you see going down into the Haughook in that Mercedes-Benz Arena section and down the main straightaway. And the key to that, getting a good run into the second part of the NGK chicane and through Coca-Cola. I do anticipate some maybe aggressive lunges going down into the Dunlop hairpin and maybe a few even going into the Michelin curve. But I think for the most part, your best chance to overtake it'll be down into the Haughook and look for some fight backs there. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Speaking of fights back, if we take a look at our championship points, even though you won't see Kostovich, he won last race and added himself to the list of drivers that have won the season because we've had no repeats. But he is in 6th, so he's just outside of our graphic. Ferguson continues to lead with Ash just about 12 points behind. But look at that, 3 points between 2nd and 4th place and only 8 points between 2nd and 5th. So really, Ferguson's been using his consistency, but he's going to have to start beating some of these drivers on points because he hasn't in the last 2 races. What about in the team's points?
Well, in those team points, Joe, it's very, very, very close at the top with ASR X Able Esports leading by a single point over Pure Sims Esports, with Vendaval SimRacing Black only 2 points back. So an absolute slugfest there for the top 3. Outside of that, little bit of a gap backwards there to the tune of about 60 points for Punto CL Racing Black. They are in an island of their own, 30 points ahead of Radicals Online for 65 Garage.
And as for today's race, it's slightly different from what you just watched if you were tuning in to the MX-5s a moment ago, because not just the GT3 cars involved, obviously, but it's a 40-minute race, so 5 minutes longer. Same deal, though. They have one pit stop that they'll experience, and it's, again, open setup with a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents. A little bit more scary here with all the paved runoff, and disqualification at 17. And as usual, bonus points for fastest lap, pole, and 3 incidents or less. They're just starting the qualifying session here now, and drivers are actually on their out lap, so we'll have to wait a bit before we see some times on the board. So let's take the opportunity to take a look at the temperatures. And being up in the Eifel Mountains, well, it's a little chilly. It's only 64 degrees air temperature and 65 track temperature today.
Well, Joe, as a Californian, I would say that's very chilly, but that is neither here nor there. What that's going to mean, though, for these drivers out on the circuit is they are going to take a little bit of time for these tires to warm up. They're going to have to be careful, specifically on this opening lap, not to be too aggressive, not to dive down and make a move that you would make later on in the race. So watch out for that, a little bit more caution at the beginning. Also, that wind speed, 8 miles an hour, not massive, but it could buffer around these pretty boxy GTs just a little bit.
Attendance is a little bit down as well, unfortunately, today, but it's plenty of cars. Should give us a lot of fun. And I mentioned earlier about Daniel Ferguson's consistency. An interesting stat about him this season is last rounds, it was the first time since round 1 that he finished outside of the top 5. So that's just how consistent he has been and why he is leading the way. We're on board with him right now into the Mercedes arena. This is going to be a spot where we can see drivers pick up a lot of those 1Xs.
Yeah, Joe, very easy to run wide there. This Mercedes arena obviously redone when the Nürburgring was sort of reimagined a bit back in the late 90s. And that infield section is very much designed for Formula One, so a lot of paved runoff there and very easy to let the car go. When you get down into this section of the track, it's just as easy to pick up that 1X, but the consequences are a little bit more dire as you see the gravel and the grass right to the outside of the track.
Indeed, and now down into the Dunlop hairpin. A lot of banking around here. Sort of, I guess, their homage to the carousel on the Nordschleife. Then into the Schumacher S. I'm going to guess that this isn't really flat out in these GT3 cars, or is it close?
It's close, Joe. You're going to have to do a little bit of feathering of the throttle there through those sweepers. It's not going to be like the open wheelers where you can just absolutely floor it. So you got to be a little bit careful. And, you know, we talk a little bit about the downforce generated in these cars and the aero wash. If you are following close behind somebody, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful with that feathering. And if we see a big train develop through there, it will be pretty fascinating to see who can get the best jump.
Absolutely. And coming around the final corner now, Ferguson coming to the line. It's an early timing line here. So what has he got underneath him? A 54.3. That's good enough for second place here so far. Karen is the only one faster than him who's actually come into pit lane to start over again. So I'm not sure if he's trying to get some fresh tires on it or what, but that will keep him from being able to run all 4 laps. And Ferguson does the same.
All right. That's a strategy I wouldn't necessarily expect, Joe, as I would think that you'd want to get some more heat into these tires and that's where you would get the best laps possible. However, we're seeing a lot of drivers do that, including Levesque, Ludicky, Genet, Raditz, a lot of drivers coming in. Right now, though, we've got some pretty good disparity among the manufacturers up at the top right now. The top 3, all 3 different makes with Ferrari, Porsche, and BMW.
That is a promising sign. Missing about 10 cars yet to set a time. Included among them, though, are guys like Karl Modhoff. He had his lap deleted. Davies still looking for his first one. There in the 75. And Dallas Pataski yet to set one as he had an off track as well. Here we see Karl Modhoff on your screen now. Davies is actually just coming around Coca-Cola, but he went way wide, so I'm wondering if he's setting up for a flyer here. That certainly won't be a quick one for him. And that one was deleted. So yeah, he's setting up for a better chance. Modhoff down into the hairpin himself. Our pole sitter is coming back around to start a new lap, and Ferguson's still about halfway around his. Let's see, do we have anybody else able to continue on? I see Levesque coming through. He's currently in 4th, and Scully looks a little bit slow. So trying to find who we've got that is on a quick one. You see Modhoff now heading down towards the chicane for another time. Levesque across the line, and that one doesn't count for him. So he also was either on another out lap or had himself an off track somewhere.
Yeah, not sure exactly what happened. Let's see what Modov's got. Big chunk of those curves. Remember I talked about how these GT3s are able to get a little bit more aggressive around there than compared to some of the other cars we see around this Nürburgring. But Modov coming to the line here. Let's see if that's going to count for him. It is. That's 4th place for Carl.
Oh, that's a big jump, and he'll be happy about that one. They've still got about 3 minutes left. I see Davies getting close, and here's Rafael Russo sitting down in 9th. It looks like Jeffrey Ooms gets ones on the board. He's into 12th. And as Rafael Russo takes this BMW down into the tight little chicane at the end of the lap, that's nice and tidy. Hopefully he kept it clean for the remainder of it. Out of the last corner, trying to square the exit off and to the line. Can he get higher than this 9th position? He crosses the timing line, and that lap sadly deleted.
Seeing a lot of that here out of these drivers, and it's not great for them. So we're going to have to hope they can do a little bit better. Russo, as you said, they're back in 9th. That Ferrari continuing to be top right now.
Wow. Dallas Pataska having a hard time trying to keep it within the racing bounds. He had his 2nd lap deleted, so he'll have time for one more, and that is it. Here's Andrew Caron on another flyer in the Ferrari. Is this going to be any faster than the 54 flat? Yes, a 53.9, the first driver to break that 54 mark.
Oh, there we go. Those times start tumbling. Next up, looking like that is of all the good contenders here, it will be Daniel Ferguson and Carl Modov not too far behind him. So we will have to see what they've got. Ferguson, big thwap on the curbs. That car getting all fully up onto 2 wheels.
He's taking no chances. Well, no, he's done taking chances as he's going to take it into pit lane. I guess that must have been an off track, or we missed one somewhere, because that is his qualifying over. And Modov also heading in, so he'll do no better than 5th. This has been a strange qualifying session.
Yeah, it really has, Joe, and I think the biggest surprise is not necessarily the outright speed of Andrew Caron, but just the fact that that Ferrari is up at the top. We've normally seen that be a mid-pack car this season. Also, I want to point out Antoine Lacquerite up into 6th in the Lamborghini. The Lambo, another car that we haven't seen a lot of good top 10 drives from. So good to see some of these other makes getting their way up there. Let's see, though, what Russo's got. I expect some good things from him there in this number 14 BMW.
Let's see if this one counts. It'll be his last shot at it. And no, it is not an improvement. Michael Davies does, though. A 54.7. He bumps himself up to 8th position. Pataska's last opportunity is now. Let's see if this one actually counts. 55.2. That'll do it, but it's only in the 19th, unfortunately, for the former Black Stripe driver. So Levesque now, as we watch him come through the chicane. Lascherite is around the final corner just in front of him, and that is a pit entry practice for Levesque. So that's it for him. He'll do no better than 3rd. Have to start from the 2nd row. Lascherite. Oh, Antoine up into 2nd. He's on the front row with that one.
Hoi, oi, oi, the Lamborghini starting to flex its muscle here in the last moments of qualifying.
Wow. And now we head to our grid. That changed around quickly at the end. Caron on the pole, but Lascherite takes the spot next to him. Ferguson gets bumped down into 3rd. Ludicky also in the dying stages jumped up to 4th position. Levesque didn't like that last lap. He stays in 5th. Scully is 6th, and Carl Modov only 7th today as Diego Morales starts P8 and Davies 9th. Russo will round out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Patricio Campos del Rio with Gonzalo Cortez to his outside. Row 7 will be James David and Pablo Venezuela Uribe with Arnaud in 15th and Jeffrey Ooms in 16th. Rodrigo Mies is 17th, followed by Teddy Lowendick with Dallas Pataska and Horatio Calquin rounding out your top 20.
21st goes to J.R. Williams, and it's Gagnon Renault in 22nd. Roditz P23. Torchio was the last driver to set a time. Lewis Goodway starts 25th and LaRouche 26th. So we're used to seeing as high as 40 cars out here in this series. even still, 26 will be a lot of action around this track. And who do we have driving here today in the pace car? Because I'm trying to make out who that is. Is this Fred Durst that we have today that's giving us our celebrity pace car driver?
I think you may be right on that one, Joe. That does have a little bit of a Fred Durst vibe to it.
All right, well, let's hope that nobody breaks stuff out there as we get ready to go racing for round 6 and 40 minutes of it here at the Nürburgring. And the drivers have just about got them all on the grid. We're waiting on Lowendick and Goodway. Now just Goodway, and then we'll get the short pace lap. Still getting a lot of cloud cover out here today, so the temperatures have not really changed all that much. And you can see even the wind is just about how it was before at 8 miles per hour. Hopefully we don't get anybody that falls victim to that incident limit as well, because it seemed like it was a tough one in the qualifying session with a lot of drivers having laps deleted. And look at that front row up there. Ferrari and a Lambo. It is the Italian makes that seem to have mastered this German track.
Yeah, it is indeed. There's going to be a little bit of, I think, a nationalistic fight with those BMWs and the Porsches trying to fight back a little bit, but all eyes here on Andrew Caron in that 06 Ferrari.
And Caron, I believe, yes, he has not won yet this season, so he could be our 6th different winner so far. And he is off early as the green flag is out. It looks like that caught Lascherite a little bit napping, and Ferguson is already being challenged by Levesque to his inside. Ludicky looking around the outside, braking deep up the middle, trying to keep from making contact with the leader. Ferguson is mighty on the brakes, and that's going to get him 2nd place.
That was really impressive there from Daniel Ferguson. I thought for sure that was going to end in tears, Joe. Behind them, they are side by side between Lackerite and Morales trying to get a little bit of fight. We've got one car off in the back and more contact in there.
Ooh, and things get a little shaky in the mid-pack. Oh, another car going around. Everybody trying to take avoiding action. And I think that's Cortez. Looks like Uribe was one of our first drivers to have an incident in the arena section.
Yeah, and it looked like Cortez just caught the outside curbing there as they came through. It looked like a little bit of a lockup, maybe some contact there in the back from Diego Morales. Oh, that's Morales off. That is Morales off in the BMW.
He had some contact from Scully, unfortunately, and I think it was netcode, sadly. So that is not the start we were hoping for. A number of cars getting sent around. And up at the front of it, it is Caron about half a second ahead of Ferguson. Levesque still in P3. And you've got Lacherit there in P4, dropping 2 positions.
Yeah, and I've got to give massive credit there to Guillaume Levesque. That was a heck of a start there for him. Really able to power that car away.
Ferguson, oh my goodness, that was scary. I thought we were going to see an accident at the front of the field right into the Howe Cook, but thankfully he got it loaded up in time. And he's got a shot at becoming the first repeat winner if he can manage to take that guts and that speed and overtake the 06, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to here. Even as great as he was the first time, this is way too far back to overtake down in the first turn on the 2nd lap. So we go single file down into the hairpin, and the first real attempt that I'm seeing is Scully and Davies, but they're not going to switch positions. A little bit of an attack back there from Mees going by Janeo, and Modov's had a problem. Modov is slow.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there to Carl necessarily. It looks like he may have just run a little bit wide. There you can see him in the middle of a fight there with the 72. He is just getting pushed back more and more. That's Teddy Lowendick going around his outside.
It looks like a slowdown penalty for the 948 that he suffered from. Well, there's a car off. That is Jeffrey Ooms, the 97 into Valvoline. This one was his own doing, just touched the grass on the way in and spun it as we continue to follow Modov down the hill. Carl in the midst of a lot of people. Oh, and he goes wide once again, trying to enter a little bit farther out and then cut back. That is Lowendick that he's chasing in front of him.
Yeah, and Carl obviously has a lot more speed there based off of what we saw. And there he goes, taking a poke down to the inside there, going into the Michelin curve. Not enough to get it done, but that's going to open up Ian Gagnon and Renault maybe having a little bit of a look here on Karl Modolf.
Yeah, and that is Cal Quinn in there as well. They're very tight together. Does anybody dare into the chicane? Modolf actually gaining now on Lowendick. And side by side, actually getting shoved off. That was Cal Quinn having to catch that 666 car, just putting two wheels into the grass because he wasn't given enough space.
Yeah, not enough to do it. And now Modolf trying to fight down the inside there of Teddy Lowendick. That's a better run there, I think, for Teddy. All the way down to the inside is Karl Modolf, just trying to keep onto that inside line. He's losing a little bit of ground, though, to Lowendick. This is going to be a battle of the late breakers as they dive down the hill.
The 72 around the outside. Sometimes that'll work out here because you can defend into the Mercedes arena. And yes, he does. He's got the inside. And unfortunately, there's no place for him to go because Renault is there behind that pink and black car. So Modolf can't find an opening, but he's going to hang tough. The battle continues, still side by side coming out of the Mercedes arena. And he finally gets the job done unless we see an aggressive move from Teddy down into Valvoline. No, he breaks early, and now he's going to continue the fight with Gagnon.
Yeah, this battle just absolutely shaping up every single which way we see it. Oh, Teddy trying to hold on to that inside line the best he can, but it's going to switch back on him here. A little bit of a fade attempted. Renault may have that inside line coming down into the hairpin. Indeed, he does, but Lowendick trying to carry more momentum around the outside.
The battle continues. This has been some exciting stuff here in the mid-pack. Lowendick, unfortunately, and a big slide from Ian. And his speed is really hindered because Cal Quinn has to take avoiding action to get around him. But Tasca does as well. And then the bleeding stops before LaRouche is able to go by.
All right, so settling down for a minute here in the mid-pack. That was absolutely insane, Joe.
Yeah, finally we got a single file with these cars as it was side by side for most of the lap, just swapping cars there for a moment. Now Ferguson, I think, set the fastest lap of the race last time through as we head over to James David. And this is and Karen just took the fastest lap right back. This is the battle for ninth with Campos Del Rio just ahead of James. And then Rodrigo Mies sizing them up too.
Yeah, indeed. Everybody in single file there. Looks like David didn't get the best run there. Mies trying to see what he can do through that Mercedes-Benz arena. Not really enough to get it fighting. But here they go. Mies trying to take a wider line, but David has him covered off.
Still, it seems like that 88 is able to get down to the apexes quite a bit better. The Lambo leads them into Valvoline and way off the apex there now for Patricio. He's going to try and cut back through Ford and recover. He does, but it seems like that orange and black 89 is much bigger in his mirrors now.
Yes, it is. That Lamborghini pretty slippery in a straight line, it has to be said. Not able to get it done down through the hairpin, though. Let's see if he can get power up the corner.
Does decently enough. Down through the Schumacher S. Just perfect through there. Yeah, he is going to keep him at bay. So David is staying threatening, but he's not able to attack at this phase. We're less than 10 minutes into this race. And behind them, as you can tell, that is still Mies there with the red, black, and white Porsche. Just making them think twice about any sort of mistake.
Yeah, these drivers are really having to keep on their toes here to not be able to attack too hard, as it will open up a big problem in the back if they get overtaken with a aggressive pass.
See if anybody gets the launch onto the front stretch. I think Del Rio, yeah, he's looking the strongest amongst them and just starts to pull away a little bit. So James David not going to have an answer here into the first corner.
Nothing there yet. Whoa, late on the brakes is that Lamborghini of David, though. Looking a little bit aggressive.
Whew. Thought he was going to hit him there for a second. He was closing in very quickly, but he lost time. Maybe he was a little too aggressive on the brakes. Still single file now through the Mercedes arena. Looks like they might be gaining a bit on the 14 of Rafael Russo. That's 8th place in front of them in the BMW that you can see on the screen.
Yeah, they're starting to gain in a little bit, but they've got to be careful not to be squabbling too hard and run the risk of getting lost to that car up ahead.
Down into the braking of the hairpin. Still not seeing anybody show their nose this time. Everybody using as much of those exit curbs as they can. It's all within bounds here. And then through the Schumacher S once again. Still nobody able to get within striking range. We've seen this a lot at this track, that making passes seems terribly difficult, and we've had a problem with Jeffrey Ooms.
Yeah, there he is coming back onto the track there, Joe. I just think that's that grass along the outside catching a lot of people out here today as we go back to check out the replay.
Yes, indeed. So let's see. Does he touch the grass on the entry? No. But the car gets loose. Wow. And big snap oversteer. Unfortunately, that sends him like an arrow straight into the wall.
Yeah, that snap oversteer just coming back to bite him. Not necessarily known in that Ferrari as much, but it definitely can happen.
Faces him the right way, at least, as he tries to come back in. We've had a heck of a battle with Pataska, Lowendick, and Cal Quinn, and this is still going on into the first corner right now as we watch the 97. Here it is, and Teddy in the pink and black sandwiched between Pataska there and the VRS machine, and Cal Quinn behind.
Yep, there it is. Teddy just trying to see what he can get going, but he looks like to be under a lot of attack there from Cal Quinn, who's putting up a very, very stout, aggressive attack in that 666.
This has been some tense stuff. Teddy up from 18th here, 3 positions gained. Like some more. And as he follows behind Dallas Pataska, who's up 5 himself from 19th here to 14th position. Into the braking, he's still got a half an hour left to go in this race. 72 starting to experience some pressure now. Less than a car length back there to the red, white, and black Lambo.
Yeah, some definite pressure being applied there. Teddy holding it out pretty well as they go along here. Ooh, a little bit of a look there from Pataska as they go into that left-hander. That Ferrari looking very, very strong. It switches back here. I think we may have a little bit of an attack going down into the hairpin if Teddy's not careful.
He should get the slipstream. Horatio, will he size him up? Will he try and get a pass in? No, big defense from Teddy Lowendick. Comes back to the racing line, but very good on the binders. Horatio Cal Quinn is going to get through. He will not be denied.
No, he will not. And it was a very low starting position from Cal Quinn. I have to say I was a little surprised to see him start as far down as he did. So definitely expected him to keep charging up through the field.
Now, for second place, Ferguson has dropped off of Andrew in a big way. It's now 3 seconds between himself and the 06. Levesque is gaining, but he's bringing along Antoine with him.
Yes, he is. So this could develop here into a little bit of a 3-way battle. Karen up front continues to just dominate the field, pulling away. Right on board here with Levesque. You can see him closing down a little bit on that Porsche. But he's got to keep a good look in his rearview mirrors because Antoine is closing in quickly.
If I'm Guillaume, I'm worried about what's behind more so because Lascherite is only about half a second back here, so he's much closer to the 888 than he is to Ferguson. The Schumacher S once again. Good news for them is that they've dropped Ludicky quite a bit. He's about 1.5 seconds back, so he's not really within threatening range.
Yeah, he's not, so they can just kind of focus a little bit on this battle directly ahead of them and not have to worry too much about everything else that's going through.
Down into the final chicane one more time. And, oh, that was a good gain from Levesque. It's down to 0.7 of a second now. He is indeed reeling in that 6.76. A great job from the BMW. But once he gets there, he's then got to try and overtake, and that'll be its own story.
Oh, and Joe, we've got to jump back here to this battle for P9 here as we are Noah's Ark style going down the main straightaway. Campos Del Rio, Mies, David, Modoff. This is a positive hornet's nest coming down into the Haug hook.
Mies on the very inside of these three as they go 3 wide, and Carl Modoff trying to switch back. It is craziness. They almost went 4 wide with Del Rio there in front. Still continuing on between David at the back of the field as he's side by side with Modoff through the double left-handers. It's going to switch back, and Carl will be able to take that Porsche ahead, and he does it.
That was a good move there from Modoff as he continues to get back up to that position that he was hoping for. He's now got Campos Del Rio ahead in his sights, and it feels a little bit like this, that Campos Del Rio is holding up this field, this little train a bit.
Plunging down the hill once again. Del Rio probably wanted to get away from this, the way that these guys are being so aggressive there. We've only lost Alessandro Torchio. Jeffrey Ooms, unfortunately, has been taking extensive repairs. We'll see if he returns. So 23 cars are currently running, and we're getting close to the halfway point soon. This quartet down into Michelin. Oh, what a big mistake from both Del Rio and from Rodrigo Mies. Target fixation, but he's able to salvage it. Not so for Patricio. He falls all the way to the back of this train.
But look at the run here that Modoff has got on Rodrigo Mies. He is right up behind that bumper of that fellow Porsche, sticks his nose to the inside as they get ready to go into the braking zone for the NGK chicane. Later on the brakes is Modoff, and he is ahead up into 9th.
Just like that, he is up 4 more positions. So remember, he started in 7th, so he is a little bit out of position here after his slowdown penalty. He's trying desperately to get back to where he began this thing. They come down the front stretch. Is this going to be a close one between Mies and David? He's not going to show his nose on that one. He'll stay in order.
Yeah, Joe, I'm wondering if the mentality for any of these drivers is going to start to play into thinking about the long game, pit stops, etc. Because right now, everything we are seeing from this mid-pack is just absolute attack, attack, attack.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of drivers that really want these points. I mean, this is now past halfway through the season, so if you've not got your championship run going, you've really got to get on it and start getting whatever you can. Ferguson is sitting pretty in that 2nd place. Karen is down in 7th, so while Karen will catch up, he's not going to get too many points over Daniel at this stage. David, in the meantime, as we ride on board with the 11th place car, still trying to make sure that Mies cannot take his eyes off the mirror.
And that's a good strategy there from James David as he leads a spat of Lamborghinis there 4 in a row. David, Del Rio, Genet, and Patasca a little ways back from them as they try to chase in on these 2 Porsches. Not looking exactly there like James David was able to get the best run out of the Warnsteiner curve. He's just going to try to keep the pressure up and see if he can force a mistake out of Mies.
Oof, man, looking very good, though, from James. Whenever he gets on the brake, he really closes in onto his rival. Out of the final hairpin and onto the front stretch once again. Everybody taking it right out to that gravel. And I see Ian Gagnon Renault in pit lane. Not sure what that one is about. Looks like he took a tow, actually. So something happened that we did not see. Let's look at the replay.
All right, takes a little bit of that curbing, a little bit heavy. Oh! Yeah, Joe, he just caught that inside curbing, and that sent him right out into the wall. Let's take another look at this on board. This is coming up through the Schumacher S. Remember I talked a little bit about it? This is half speed, little bit understeer, and just enough to catch that curb and send him into where he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, that first angle from Dougie was perfect. You could see how much the car bounced from that. So we come back live now. And it looks like Scully is starting to pressurize Ludicky. I thought it was Nick that was going to be trying to catch back up to P4, but nope, he's going to have to play rear guard.
Yes, he is. Scully now getting the pressure on in that BMW here as they dive their way into the left-hander of the Michelin curve. He's going to have to keep pushing it as hard as he can, I think. Just going and going and going. Not looking like he's got necessarily the run he wants, but if he can keep that pressure up, it may come to his advantage later on.
Down into the braking. Still a little bit of a gain. Porsche versus BMW here today, with Scully riding in the blue and white mark, and then the yellow and black mark going to Ludicky there in the Porsche. See. Comes down into the hairpin. He has pulled himself away. Manuel's not going to have much of an answer. And no, they are going to stay in line as I see James David into pit lane. Interesting.
All right, so we are over halfway here, so we are in the middle of that expected pit window. David clearly just hoping that he will be able to come in and maybe get some clear air out in front of him, and that is why he's diving in now. We'll have to see if that strategy plays out.
This is back up into the battle for second. This has entered an interesting stage here because they've all gotten even with one another, about 6 to 7 tenths apart, and they're looking almost kind of stuck, like maybe they're having trouble getting closer than this. I'm not sure if this is intentional, because it looks like Levesque and Antoine are on the same team there, if not sister teams, but Ferguson is not on the same team, so not sure why they're all holding station.
Well, I think for these two drivers behind in the terms of Lacquerite and Levesque, maybe a little bit of fuel saving. They may want to see if they can just pull out an extra lap or maybe even two and see if they can jump Ferguson that way.
Keep watching these guys as they come down through the kink and into the NGK chicane. Still nobody able to get enough of a run here. We're seeing this a lot, that once you're in position. Oh, and we may have a pass here, though. Modoff and Russo, he's been working on this for some time, and finally he caught and passed the 14.
All right, so that is going to move Modoff back into 8th place, only one down from his starting position, so starting to claw his way back. Looks like we've got another pitter here, one of the Lamborghinis coming down the lane.
That is Genet. So Genet is now in, and James David came out, oh my goodness. I think David had a penalty. That was a 50-second pit stop. I think that is way too long. He must have taken his penalty as he took his regular pit stop, I think.
Yeah, I think he might have, so that may be a pit lane violation, because if he came to a stop, if he would be assessed a drive-through if it was an incident limit penalty, and you cannot take that while you were getting service on the car.
Interesting stuff there. Uribe also taking service. And Genet is back out in 18th. Yeah, much more normal stop that we're used to. 9.4 seconds for him. Just taking a splash of fuel. You're back out. No tires or anything. And get rolling once again. So we watch Modoff trying to run away from these. And he is pretty much, it looks like, it's up to about a second between himself and the 88. So I think now that Carl's got the clear air, he is off to the races.
Yes, we're going to jump back here. This is that battle for P2 right now. You can see Ferguson still getting caught up there by Guillaume Levesque. Very, very close is that BMW to the back of the Porsche. Very close in the braking, going down into the NGK chicane. Little bit of a wide run there for Ferguson, able to keep the car under him, but just barely.
Oof. This is going to get tense, I think, in the end, especially with how much difficulty the drivers are having. They're going to have to push hard and make some big moves, or hope that they've really got enough advantage over their rivals. Still waiting for a majority of the drivers to come in. Could it be the pit stops that make the difference as well? And could we see some leapfrog games from people into the Mercedes arena once again? It's up to 6.3 seconds between Ferguson and Karen. This is the 06's race to lose, it seems, right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. Karen having that big gap out front, and watching this battle play out, it almost looks like Ferguson is holding up Levesque and Lackerite because they are losing time to Nick Ludicky behind them in fifth. Ludicky bringing Scully along with him as well. So if they don't figure out a way to get by this Porsche up in front, they could find themselves in a bit of trouble.
I think trouble is something that Ferguson is used to dealing with. He's managed to get himself up into the lead on the points, so he knows how to try and handle this sort of situation. So far, he's been dealing with it pretty well. Still being chased by the 888 and by the 21. Down into the braking of Michelin. They're about 2 seconds ahead of Ludicky, who's still fending off Scully behind them. You can see glances as we turn the cameras now over to them. The 24 getting ever closer, putting some pressure onto the orange and white Porsche. In fact, almost looks defensive there. Back to the racing line for Nick. And Ludicky is at least watching. He's keeping an eye on things so that he doesn't get snookered.
Yeah, exactly, and that's just kind of the way this race is starting to go. It's just a patient waiting game for a lot of these drivers up front.
15 minutes now left to go. Within the next 2 or 3 laps, we should see most, if not everybody, come and pit in. We're down to only 22 drivers left on the circuit. Gagnon Renault is retired, and Ooms is still taking repairs. We watch the battle for P5 on your screen. Looking through the order to see, and most of the fights that we've been watching are still kind of stuck in the same position they were before. Some of our biggest gainers, though, Cal Quinn is up from 20th to 13th, so 7 positions for him there. And then I think Rodrigo Mies, if I'm seeing correctly, 8 spots up from 17th to 9th.
Yeah, that's
Lowendick just had a problem. Sorry, the 72 just spun himself and lost a couple spots.
Oh no, a bit of a heartbreak there for Teddy Lowendick. Let's go back and check out this replay from him. This is coming up, I believe, through the house. It's up and over. Yeah, down into the Mercedes. Oh, just carries a little bit too much speed. He may have caught a little bit of that inside curbing, and that sent his Porsche spinning.
He's back running once again. It's the 72 falls to P16 now, sadly. And he is still up 2 spots from where he started this race, so still a bit of a gain. It could have been even better if it weren't for that. Andrew Caron's not coming in this time. He goes by the pit entry as we now check in on the battle for second. Ferguson stays out. Levesque stays out. Lasherite also stays out.
All right, so these leaders just waiting and waiting and waiting. I think they're trying to push this as long as they can before they have to come on into the pits. What that means is that we'll see probably what happens many a time in this series as they go around.
Russo's biting the bullet, though. He is in. Looks like Pataska will join him. Is anybody else behind? No, not seeing any other drivers initially here. But a couple names in the mid-pack that are going to see if they can get something by pitting a little sooner than their rivals as we continue to watch Ferguson lead his trio, but continue to lose time on Andrew Caron. Best of the rest today for the 676, but as long as he keeps getting results like that, it's going to be tough for anybody to really overcome him in this final half of the season.
Yeah, it really is. It's starting to be a pretty sizable points advantage for him, so drivers are going to have to really pray that something goes wrong for him, and that's the only way they're going to be able to get by.
Yeah, and his closest rivals, Ash, is not here today. Ludicky is, but he's down in 5th, so he's not going to gain points on him. And Rodrigo Mies is, what happened to him exactly? Yeah, he's down in 9th place currently. His case was, I believe, bad qualifying for what has caused him to have a less than stellar day here in Germany. And this is looking a little bit closer. Don't think we'll see a move from Levesque this time. No, he is going to stay in line. But what about trying to jump him in the pit lane? Anybody going to duck in? No.
Oh, I think behind him, though, Manuel Scoli is going to be the one to take the bite. That is the number 24 Juncos Racing liveried machine, so he's going to come on in.
Looks like Michael Davies as well going to join. Now we're starting to see some of them bite. Does Cal Quinn stay out? Yes, Cal Quinn also going to stay out. Ten minutes left on the clock now. Waiting on about half the field to pit in. Oh, I thought I saw one more entering. Was that Modov? No, it was LaRouche, and Lowendick joins.
All right, so some of the mid-pack deciding to come in. Joe, I think what we're going to see here from all of these drivers up front is just a flurry of everybody coming in. Now, what this is going to be interesting is to see what Guillaume Levesque in particular, who has been hassling Ferguson so much, if he really tries to push ahead here and jump him before they get to the pits, as he'll want to do that, be the car ahead as they come in.
Looks like Scoli is our highest pitter right now. Comes out in 11th and had a little bit of a fight with Raditz in the process, so that could have slowed him up slightly. That's not going to be good news. We're continuing to see Ferguson ahead of Levesque, but Guillaume's been getting closer and closer in recent laps. Is this the charge where he's trying to look for position potentially, be able to pit ahead of Ferguson? See a lot of drivers tend to try to make that pass right before they make a pit stop. Is this where we see Guillaume go for it? No, once again, he'll stay behind.
He faded a little bit like he was going to go for the move going down to the hairpin, and here they all come, just as predicted, Joe. Karen in, Ferguson in, Levesque in, Lascherite in, Ludicky in.
It looks like Modov joins. I think this is the end of the pit window. Mies in as well. Yep. This is where they hit the end of the sidewalk. We're seeing some of the other drivers now bringing their machines on in. The 666 Ferrari going to take his... Oh, and he almost pulled a David Coulthard there. Nearly went into the barriers.
Yeah, very, very close and very lucky he didn't. There we see one of the Lamborghinis coming in as well. All right, up front, it looks like we are in pretty much the order we came out in, but that's
Ludicky.
Ludicky challenging on Lascherite.
And he can't defend. He's lost the inside line. He's going to have to do it in the second part as it switches back into the Mercedes arena. Lascherite's not giving it up. It looks like Ludicky could still have a shot. He's going to have to hang tough around the second left-hander, back to the right-hand side, and he can't quite do it. Great stuff from the 21 to retain fourth place.
Very, very brazen defense there from the Lamborghini, and he'll be able to play a little bit of rear gunner to his teammate, Guillaume Levesque, as Levesque still tries to chase down Ferguson, but I don't think this is done yet. Ludicky still trying on the assault.
And this worked out poorly for Scoli. He has dropped about 2.5 seconds. Remember, he was ahead of Ludicky before this. I believe he was ahead, or was he chasing? Either way, he lost time and is now a distance back there. You can see him just in the back of the screen. But Ludicky wants this fourth position and is challenging.
Yes, he is. He is in full attack mode there in that orange and black Porsche. dives it down there through the curves. The Lamborghini looking like it can stretch its legs a little bit on the straight, but this is going to be full go. They've come into the pits, only about 7 minutes left in this race.
In the meantime, Dallas Pataska in that pit stop suddenly finds himself on the attack with Arnaud Genet. He's been poking his nose at him, hoping to try and get an opportunity, but starts to drift back about a car length. Let's see if he can catch up to him on the blast up to the uphill chicane here at the end of the lap. He's close, but not close enough.
Not quite able to get it done. This is, again, Lambo versus Lambo. Good to see that Huracan model getting its due in the sun here and getting some good love and some good results.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. It's been a nice mix here today. Ferrari, Porsche, BMW, Lamborghini, your top four. So 4 makes within that spread. And once again, the Lambo trying to have a go down into the first corner, but Pataska finds himself outclassed by Arnaud under the brakes.
Yeah, just not able to hold it out quite yet, but they're still going to go at it. Pataska trying to take a little bit of a wider line there through the Mercedes-Benz arena, just see if he can carry some more momentum. Cuts it down now at the exit, trying to get that better run. Looks a hair faster for Pataska, but I don't think he's going to have enough braking to get anything done down into Valvoline.
No, certainly not. That is a hard one to pass at. It's faster than you think. But they accelerate away, and as they come to Dunlop at the very lowest part of the circuit, seems like Arnaud still going to keep it at arm's length. This is all happening for 12th as we check in on the battle for 4th. Ludicky is still within it. He may have gained some time in the pit stop, about half a second quicker than Lascherite, but he is making good on it, and he is keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, he certainly is. That Porsche close.
As we come out of the chicane now and coming off of it, man, he has got it down within a car length here. If he can get the launch off of Coca-Cola, it's just not there. It is tantalizingly close for the 16.
Yes, it is, and that's just maybe a little bit of that rear-engine, rear-wheel drive Porsche just sliding a bit, coming through Coca-Cola. We've seen it come to advantage in certain corners, not looking like it is there. Closes under braking through the Haug hook. So they rise up the hill, still trying to keep it close.
Let's not forget, if they fight too much, they're going to lose touch with Levesque in that 888 because he's still only 0.8 ahead of them. Guillaume, I don't think, cares too much. He's still been watching Ferguson through much of this race. Ever since being overtaken earlier, though, it seems like Levesque has not been able to do much to try and go by the Porsche. They're coming down the hill once again. Ferguson, I got to tip my hat to that 676. He's soaked up the pressure. Haven't seen him really put a foot wrong all day long.
Yeah, nor have I, Joe. It's a very commanding performance from Daniel Ferguson. Levesque just trying to see if there's anything he can do to force a mistake out of the Porsche, and he's just not making it. It is the sign of a champion.
He's hoping to become a champion here this season. He's currently leading the way in the points. As they come out towards the chicane once again, I believe we're going to get 2 to go at the line. Looking at the time left and where Karen is, yes, indeed, it is the penultimate lap that they're just starting.
All right, and there you see a little bit closer there from Levesque as he pulls that BMW in the best that he can. A little bit of a better run there, though, out of Coca-Cola for Ferguson. You also have to think that if there's going to be a little bit of an attack from behind, it's going to be coming from Ludicky.
Seems the most likely at this stage. It does appear that Levesque is closing in once again, and Ludicky goes way wide there at the Haug hook, and unfortunately gives up a couple tenths.
It gives up a little bit, but as we've seen a lot of times on this track, you can really seesaw back and forth with those times. Let's see what the run here out of the Mercedes-Benz is for Ferguson. again, good, able to keep that power down well.
End of Valvoline. Still stuck equidistant apart amongst one another. Will we get a change here in the lower steps of the podium? Within the top 5, really. This is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So looking to try and rack up those stats here. Let's hope they don't throw it away by winding up making contact. They do have a little bit over Scully since that pit stop. Manuel has really lost touch. It was about 2 seconds before. It's 4.5 seconds now behind them. So they're running away from him. We're coming down to the white flag next time by.
Yeah, and that means it's going to be very, very much all attack mode, but we jump back here for that battle for P12. Pataska trying to close in on Janae. Same make and model fighting against each other, and we just haven't seen that 25 really be able to get anything done.
No, but it's still at least a decent day for him. Up from 19th to 13th. Sure, he'd like one more. Everybody always does, but he'll at least have a decent one. I'm curious what the post-race debrief is going to be like with Torchio, since he unfortunately DNF'd and wound up finishing last here today. This is close. This is the closest we've seen from Dallas, but a defense from Janae seems to have scared him off a bit.
Yes, it has. Janae just holding that line quite well and not letting anything by.
In the meantime, Karen has taken the white flag and taking 4th. Ludicky has managed to get the inside of Antoine, but it's not done yet. They race side by side into the Mercedes arena. Last time, Nick lost out here, and he loses out again through the second half of it.
It almost looked like he got a little bit of wheel spin coming through that corner, Joe, just not able to get the power down the way he wanted, but he's going to try to have another assault here as up ahead of him, Levesque also tried to get that last-ditch effort on Ferguson.
Oh, I thought for sure that Nick finally had that one run, but didn't seem to have the grip going around the outsides of those corners. You're right, Levesque has it down to about 0.4 of a second there for a brief moment. He's trying his darndest. I just don't think from what we've seen from him, it doesn't look like he has the pace. Ferguson has been cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, he has. Ferguson really hasn't even diverted from the normal racing line, just absolutely held his position the best that he can. And for Levesque, he's only going to have about a corner or two more to try to get this done as they make their way there out of those final sweepers and headed down to the NGK chicane. That's the last chance effort.
And Andrew Karen is going to come out of the final corner. Started it on the pole. Had a little bit of a scary moment into the first corner, but kept away from the problems and took the victory here today in Germany. The 06 is our 6th different winner.
Ferguson's going to be okay, but Joe, Nick Ludicky coming down pit lane.
Did he have an off track? If he's trying to serve a penalty, I'm not sure if he's going to get penalized time-wise. Once this is over, we'll have to watch that. Scully manages to go past him anyways. He'll finish 5th. It looks like we'll have to wait and see. Modoff with a 7th place. Davies finishes 8th. Well, that was incredibly strange. Looks like Cal Quinn and Cortez with a fight to the line, but Cal Quinn will finish ahead of him in 14th. Williams, oh wow, very tight between them, side by side. JR finishing 16th, Morales in 17th. Let's see, last one across on the lead lap is going to be LaRouche. Unfortunately, he's way far back, so we might not find out until we come back from the break because we've got no more battles happening. So yeah, we'll come back and try and give a report on what happened to Ludicky. We'll also come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today. We install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us. If you have any questions, you can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Nürburgring Round 6 in the Precision Racing League GT3 Pro Series. Went to Andrew Karen, making him our 6th different winner this season. However, he's a ways behind Ferguson in the points, so that second place for Daniel will retain him the points lead and keep him well ahead of his nearest rivals. Levesque was 3rd, and Lasherite just missed out on the podium in 4th. Scully up into 5th, as Carl Modoff finished in P6. Michael Davies finished 7th today, with Rodrigo Mies in 8th, and it was Campos del Rio P9 and Rafael Russo rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Arnaud Genet who was able to hold off that attack from Dallas Pataska that we were following for a good chunk of that race. Horatio Calcoen came home in 13th, followed by Gonzalo Cortez and J.R. Williams in 15th. Diego Morales was 16th, followed by Teddy Lowendick, who was able to recover from that self-spin. Christian Raditz came home in 18th, with Nick Ludicky in a surprise 19th. Still not entirely sure what happened to him there. And James David in 20th.
That would be a penalty then that Ludicky got with that, because he got demoted down a lap, I believe, or at least got a time penalty. As we look at the last of our finishers with DNFs, basically from 23rd on down, and we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Andrew Karen, who finished a 10-second gap ahead of anybody else. Andrew, you put it on pole, and about the only challenge that we seem to have seen the whole race was into turn 1. After that, you were off to the races.
Yeah. For sure. I think today I was pretty lucky to have the car that had a bit more pace, at least more in the big chicanes with the big curves. I think the Ferrari took it a lot easier, but I think today was a really good race. I think I kept a good pace, and that's what happened.
It looked like it. We saw at least one driver get penalized and potentially another for the off tracks. Did you find it tough to try and keep it within the bounds here today?
To be honest, I didn't find it that hard. It's just that I didn't really look at them, and I wanted to stay below 3 off track to get that 1 point, but I couldn't, and I finished with 4 off track. But I wasn't too stressed about it.
So close, but even still, you did take the win and a bonus as well for the pole. Next week, though, going to be an interesting one. Have you driven Homestead's Roval yet? Because that one is one that I don't think we've seen on the channel, at least in the form of the A course.
I will be honest here, I never drove that track at all. So that will be quite a surprise. But, a new track, new challenge.
Absolutely. It's all part of being quick, I suppose, being able to roll with the punches. Congratulations on a win today. Anybody you want to thank for that?
Yeah, for sure. I would like to congrats Devag for his third place today. I would like to say thanks to everybody at ASR for everything they're doing for us, and everybody at Able Esport, our sponsor Budweiser, and Guru, and all of our sponsors.
That was Andrew Cairn, your winner for the PRL GT3 Pro Series here today. And up next, DJ is going to talk to the man with nerves of steel, Daniel Ferguson, holding off all comers.
Yeah, Daniel, I have got to ask you, first off, how much are you sweating with that absolute amazing defense holding off Guillaume Levesque for what seemed like the entire race?
I hadn't had to drive that hard in a long time. That was a struggle.
What was going through your mind on that? I mean, were you really and truly trying to keep him at bay? Were you trying to just focus on your own race? What were you thinking?
I was just trying to make sure I didn't overwork the tires too much, because the BMW has been strong all week, and then I figured if I could keep the car underneath me, I'd be able to hold him at bay. There wasn't many chances he'd have a run at me, other than to the chicane. But yeah, he didn't really get close enough until the last lap.
Got it. Well, I mean, you obviously held that out incredibly well and just did an incredible job here on this circuit. It's going to help you stretch out your points lead a little bit. How much are you thinking about that going forward?
I haven't actually taken a look at the points, but I know it's close. There's a few of us within, I think, 20 points or something like that. But yeah, it'll be a big push towards the end of the season. I think the other guys I know I've got a few leagues coming up, so I won't have as much time to practice, but we'll see what we can do.
Well, we'll see indeed, and we're looking forward to it. Anybody you want to thank for this run here today?
I just want to thank everyone at Pure Sims and all our sponsors, SimLab, FreeM UK, and Craig Setup Shop. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was your second place runner there, Daniel Ferguson. And now, Joe, you have caught up with our third place finisher, Guillaume Levesque.
Indeed. And Guillaume, you were one of the ones involved in that start coming down to the first corner, 3 wide, and you picked the very inside. Were you nervous about being able to stay out of trouble once you got there?
A little bit, because I knew that I had Antoine at the very outside, so I want to be careful about it. And yeah, that was the big moment of the race, and after that it was just managing the race.
Well, you managed it well, but couldn't seem to get close enough to attack Daniel. He sounded pretty nervous from his interview, as he said that there was a lot of pressure to deal with. Did you ever feel like you could try and attack him, like you had something for him?
I think I had one shot, but I was in a safe fuel mine at that point. But afterwards, I might think that I would have to take the shot. But yeah, I was just like, I will put a lot of pressure on him, and he will maybe make a mistake, and I will capitulate on it, but it didn't happen. So yeah, great job by him holding off me and Antoine.
The unfortunate thing is, coming into this round, you were 20 points behind Ferguson, so this won't lessen that gap with only 4 rounds left. Is there anything that you can do to try and lessen that? Do you feel like you can try and gain on him?
We didn't count, I think, with the 20 point, we didn't count the Joker one. But yeah, it's tough. Fergie is really strong everywhere, so yeah, it will be tough, but I'll take a shot on it. Yeah, we will have a special round, if we can say that, next week. But yeah, I'll take a shot if I can.
Special is a good way to describe that track. It is unique on the schedule for sure. Anybody you want to thank, though, for today's podium?
Sure, I want to thank all the guys at ASR who is working with us all the weeks, especially ASR, Able, CarQuest, Labat, and all those guys at sponsorship. And thank you guys for the nice broadcast too.
Well, thank you very much. That was Guillaume Levesque, our third place finisher, which is going to wrap up our broadcast. And of course, before we go, we want to thank the sponsors as well. ASR, of course, they designed and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next time, as we mentioned, Red Bull Ring for the MX-5s and Homestead Miami Speedway's Roval for the GT3s on Monday, November 1st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And in just a few minutes, the Porsche Owners Club goes to Phillip Island. That'll be at 11 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.